Hello, and welcome to a rave, apparently, on Snake's camera. This is part 2 of our Ready or Not map tier list. The first one, we took a little bit of our time doing it. The second one, unfortunately, has been a bit delayed, thanks to certain games coming out in the interim, notably Battlefield 6, and I was also going back into Helldivers 2, briefly, for some reason. Last time we finished on levels 1 to 10, finishing with Valley of the Dolls. This time we are starting with level 11, Elephant, also known as the School. I'll open on this one. I think this level could have been very, very exploitative. A school shooting level is always going to be tricky to do. What I think they've ended up with is a very, very, very good attempt. It's not perfect. I think for a school, it's actually a bit small, only having like one wing of the college. But I like the fact there's only 3 or 4 bad guys and a ton of civilians. That's very realistic. I also like the fact that there's no music at all in the level to really give the emphasis of what you're being a part of. Like Valley of the Dolls, it could have gone for shock factor and for just trying to make a story out of it, but they've somehow done it a bit tastefully. I'm quite impressed. So I'd give that an A for my rating. Snake, do you want to go next?
I sure will. Thank you, Vaughan. I think there's an excellent level for broadly the same reasons as you do, but I'll pick out some slightly different ones. One, with the removal of mission types, it's the only mission, to my knowledge, where you actually genuinely have to move quickly. Like, you have no option, because the shooters, after I think it's 3 minutes, will start killing civilians. So you can't go slowly. Also, as soon as you engage the first shooter, you need to be really quick to find the others before they start executing civilians. It's also the only map where you actually really benefit from using a suppressor.
Yeah.
And I also basically agree with everything else you said, that they did it very tastefully. So I would give it a B. But I'm just going to follow that up with the question that everyone's really asking, which is, why do you have a towel radiator in your bedroom?
You do realise
why is there a towel radiator?
You asked this the last video, and I even give an explanation in that video, which proves that you don't watch the channel, you fucking traitor.
Or I'm playing into the bits.
Yes, 3 times it becomes funny. Smee, you next.
I agree broadly with what you guys have said. However, I will add quickly that it is nice and quick, so it's instantly replayable, especially if you cock up or you want like a particular rating.
Yeah.
It's harrowing. It's more importantly, though, for me, the fact that it's like all these other levels that you have, like some of the other levels we played, have that sort of very dark, sinister, gritty kind of like a story element to them about how there's like this secretive organization that controls everything, which could be silly, but they play it very well. But this is the only, well, not the only level, but this is one of the levels that's like, no, this is very real. Yeah. It doesn't have that seedy underbelly. It doesn't have that extra narrative. It doesn't have that like grand plot and scheme of all these things that are happening. It's real and it's happening and it's genuine. Yeah. And that in itself makes it very, very scary and an interesting game to play, level to play in this game. I would give it an S. However, I think, bear with me, it bumps down to an A because of the AI. Like some of the times we've been on like a really good, impressive time for that level. But when you give the option of sending the AI to the end rather than zip tying them all, sometimes they get stuck or they go missing, and that really hampers the sort of like the game side of it.
Yeah,
I know there might be a realism to that in the sense that like people might get lost or they're confused or panicked, whatever. But honestly, it sounds kind of silly to level it down because of that, but that's why I would bring it down. The AI isn't quite up to scratch with knowing where to go when you give them the opportunity to do so. So yeah. An A for me.
I'd say it's a feature that's flawed in that particular level because the pathfinding is not always great in that level, is it?
Precisely. Yeah, definitely.
And to finish off on this level, Moose.
Same, A tier. It's a nice sized map. It's Not too large, not too small. I think if you had the whole of a college campus in there, it would be way too big. It would end up being like the hospital level.
Yeah.
Quite quick, quite good for replayability. The bombs can get quite annoying because although they're only in a few places, it's really, if you don't find it first time or you don't hear the audio cue, you spend ages trying to find it, and that can get a tad annoying. The sort of the thematics of it are good. The cell phones ringing, that's quite, dark, but it's quite a good thing. To most of the civilized world, it's quite, ooh, this isn't very nice. And I think probably one of the only video games where they actually have a school shooting level. I think, I don't know, I've not
I
played a
can't
huge amount
think.
of videos.
Well,
It's probably
apart
the
from
only one.
probably all those ones that got banned off Steam, but yeah, probably
Yeah,
the most
it's one of the only
mainstream
sort
one.
of larger, more mainstream games
Yeah.
that has one. And certainly to, like I say, everywhere in the civilized world, it's quite punchy. But to the average American, it's just a Tuesday.
Jesus.
So overall, yeah, I think it's an A tier. I think it's a good map. I'm glad they kept it in. I'm glad they haven't toned it down to the stage where it might as well not exist. Yeah, good level.
Mission 12 is Rust Belt, or as Ollie and Snake know it, Sicario Town. Essentially works off the point that you just stumble across a smuggling tunnel from America to Mexico. We'll start with Moose. Go reverse order this time.
I'm going to go C tier for this. The thematics of it are good. Again, it's quite an uncommon type thing to do. Call of Duty has done it once or twice where they've had some tunnel levels, but that's a very, very different game. It used to be when this map first came out, it was really, really hard, like really hard. It's much easier now, I think, as well, partially because we know what we're doing on it. And things like gas was working, then they nerfed it so it wasn't, now it was, and anyway, and things like night vision. Points that lead the map down, it's way too linear and way too restrictive. Although there are essentially two main tunnels. Yes, you can go between them at certain points, but that's kind of all there is. All there is to it. There's nothing really in there which is anything special. It's all very, very tight. You can get ambushed around a corner way too easily. And of course, because the enemies just fire on full auto, if you get stuck in a bit of scenery, if one of your teammates too close to you, you get sprayed down in a bunch of Uzi fire, and that's it. It's really, really difficult to play non-lethally, if nothing else because of the ranges. Like some of the bit, like when you end up breaching towards the final cavern with the submarine, if you are in the right kind of place and you open the door, I mean, you could be looking at 50, 80 meters maybe. I haven't actually measured it. And of course the enemy, the AI is just dead shot. If you're trying to use a pepperball gun, you've got no way of getting in easily. So it's much easier now that we're better, but of all the levels that we need to replay, it's not one that we really go to, so I'm going to go C.
Fair enough. Andy, you next.
I'll parrot the C for largely similar reasons. I like the tunnels and the fact that the night vision's cool. It gives it that like a different aspect to it. In the same way, going back to Call of Duty, where you've got in the more modern one, you've got the levels where you're sneaking through the house, or you're not sneaking through the house, you're clearing the house room by room, clean house, and it's all night vision. It gives it like a different kind of perspective, a different sort of vibe and color palette and whatever, which is quite useful. And in that same aspect, you don't have to use night vision. It's just it's a nice added feature. Like the tunnels are still bright enough in game that you can see. You're not like forced to use night vision.
Yep.
But like we said, it's all the tight corridors. It's a little uninspired. There's not really like much room to do anything new or interesting. Is once you find the route through, that's pretty much the route that you have to go, and you have like a set layout. You have the shield up front and you have a couple of people behind doing whatever else they need to do. You have like that specific thing that you need to do to get through that level. There's no like variation. I didn't think we found much variation with the gameplay. Not a personal favorite, but yeah, it's a C. It's fine.
Fair enough. Snake?
Yeah, I kind of broadly agree with everyone. It's a map that I don't hate playing, but every run through of it is basically forgettable. Like I don't remember ever having those moments where I was like that was super clutch, that was really exciting, like we were kicking doors, taking names. Every run through is just we got to the end and we either made it or we didn't. You really have almost no choice about how you play it. Like, there's just a couple of tunnels and you have to walk down them until you have met all of the enemies. Apart from deciding whether you're going to take gas or not, which you always should until the update ruined gas. There's not really much to say about it. I would agree with everyone else. The only thing I like about it is I like a map where using night vision and IR lasers is rewarded, or is not mandatory but close to mandatory. And the problem is that the enemies can see perfectly well in the dark, so it kind of doesn't feel like it has that utility, but it's just a kind of fun visual aesthetic. So all right, I would agree, C.
Yeah, just quickly before you go in, it'd be cool if you could actually do something about it. So obviously they've got string lights. It'd be really cool if you could actually interact with the power generator and cut the light to give you the advantage if you've taken night vision. But if you've forgotten or if you're playing with randoms, you have to leave the generators on, otherwise you're both in the dark. But they don't give you that option, so.
I'll finish off. I think the level's lucky that I'm not judging this based on how it is to play after the crossplay update. Because holy crap, the fact that gas is now next to useless again makes it so much harder to play. I actually give it a B, and mainly because I agree with a lot of what you guys said, that it is a bit too linear and it does feel a bit too uninspired. But I think there's some decisions that really work. I think it's a really good thing that all of the civvies in the level are up top and not in the tunnel, because that could have made it even more of a slog. I like the fact that one side of the tunnels is like a rush job made by the smugglers, and the other side is actually an ancient ruin. If you actually have a time to look at the walls, you see some quite funny details. And the cavern bit, the first time I played it, and I was lucky that I didn't have it spoiled, when I saw like the dock and the cartel-made submarine, that was quite a cool touch. It does feel a bit too much like Stylo for Substance when you've played it 6 or 7 times, but at the same time, it's by no way near the worst. There's a lot worse levels in this game. So yeah, I stick with a B on this one. Certainly not great, but middle of the deck, I'd say. The next mission is Sins of the Father or Clementine Hotel. Not the hotel level I actually wanted them to continue with, because I like the Waverley from the beta. But there we go, we can't always get what we want. This level is actually a continuation of Ides of March and focuses on the same enemy faction, the retired or left behind soldiers that have taken up residence at a hotel and kidnapped a senator and his family. Snake, we'll start with you on this one.
Yeah, I agree. It's an interesting one. It's similar to some of the others. When it first came out, it was at a time where the AI was almost unbeatable. Like, it was all very John Wick. And I remember playing this and hating every moment of playing this map. And I just stopped playing it. It was awful. Because it's very dark, very claustrophobic, very monochromatic. Like, everything is either pitch black or this like weird yellowy gold color, and all the lighting is incredibly subdued. The kind of hotel that would be incredibly unpleasant to actually be in, because it would feel dark and horrible. But now, with the AI being fairly reasonable, I actually quite like it. I think it's quite fun, it's quite interesting. The enemy are still really tough, and it's quite a maze as well. The only problem I'd say with it is, like an awful lot of them, it's about a third too big. With a 3 or 4 man team, unless you are incredibly careful with your expendables, you'll run out long before the end. But I think it's good. It's all right. It's not a map I hate playing. And there's enough different ways of playing it that it's quite replayable. So I'd give it... It's probably on that A-B cusp. I think because there are a lot of maps that are better, it probably sits in a B.
Fair enough. Moose?
I'm going to go low B, high C.
Gotta put one.
Okay, scraping a B.
Okay.
I think the layout is a fraction large. It can be a little confusing, but there are some aspects of it which are quite good. You've got the two foyers, or not foyers, like sort of atrium
the big
type thing.
veranda.
And then
around,
you've got the giant room, which is a pain in the ass to clear, but it's quite gothic and quite aesthetically pleasing and stuff. The rain outside's quite nice. You know, it adds a bit of that sort of like dark, gothic kind of vibe that the map goes for. So I think that's all done really well. There's almost just a couple too many rooms, and some of the rooms are laid out in such a way that the AI, if they're inside, have got a filthy angle on the doorway that they're holding. And it can be quite difficult. The corridors, I would say, are very claustrophobic. It's not a map I overtly enjoy playing, but I don't hate it either. So I think just scrapes a B, but I think there are bits that definitely could be improved.
Okay. I'll go next. My main complaint about Ides of March is I thought the difficulty jump didn't suit it being that early on in the campaign. To me, where Sins of the Father is kind of makes sense difficulty-wise. I agree the enemy faction are ridiculously deadly, but it makes sense. At the very least, they give them a reason to be. They're former soldiers, they're tooled up, and these guys especially have managed to disguise themselves as members of the Secret Service. So realistically, you're going up against some tough people. I think the layout complaints, I think they could have been fixed is if they had made the level deeper rather than longer, because I think the long corridors are too thin, really, when you're trying to move through it. I think if they'd made the rooms on one side a lot bigger, it might have been a bit easier, but then again, it might have made gas a little bit trickier. I think the number of enemies is just about right. I think any more, and it would have been impossible to do it non-lethally. I agree with the whole atmospheric, though. I think atmospherically, it's up there with the Cabin in the Woods level, which I know you lot don't like, but I like for atmosphere. Ranking-wise, I still keep it as a B, because I agree there's a lot of difficulty just playing it, and there are much better levels, and I think I was a bit too nice on some of the earlier ones. So I'd give this one a B at the very least. And to finish with Smee.
I mostly disagree with all of you. I think this is actually really good level.
How
for
dare
two reasons.
No.
I know. Scandalous.
I
And
know.
I will die on this hill. One,
It's
because you
better if we
mentioned...
don't all just agree every
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Well, I'm going to be the one that disagrees on this one, because I think that the atmosphere that this level gives off is key, and I think that it's really well done. You all mentioned the dark, gritty, gothic kind of atmosphere, and the way that the hotel's laid out with the black, the sort of warm lighting but black and gold, lends itself to that. If you had this at like a Travelodge or a Premier Inn where everything is like fucking beige and manila white, like it just wouldn't work. So the atmosphere and the color scheme really lends itself. And when you were mentioning about the antagonists, the faux Secret Service, I like that they're pretending to be the Secret Service, and even in the face of the SWAT who are coming in and taking them all out, they're still shouting at you, going, "Put your weapons down! Put your weapons down!" They're telling you, the fucking SWAT, to put your weapons down. You're like, "Bitch, I got a gun. I got fucking gas. Shut up." I like that. I like that level of detail that they've got. That they're still keeping up that facade that they're the good guys in this scenario when they are debatably not. I'd give it an A. I think it's a really good level. I like how big it is. I like the two levels, the sort of verticality, and the fact that they use traps against you. Quite a lot of these levels they don't use traps, but this one they do, and I like that they use traps because it makes you think so much more carefully. It is a bit of a slog in that aspect, but I mean, it's part of the game, isn't it? You're supposed to go carefully, room to room, clearing to clearing. Yeah, an A.
Well, that's any sponsorship deal with Travelodge out the Swanee. Cheers for that.
Sorry, and Premier Inn as well.
Your 4 subscribers were so close to getting you that sweet marketing deal.
One of them is the Travelodge CEO who goes, "Curses!"
He's the bot account! Now, the next level is the level that got a lot of bad press for the game originally, Neon Tomb. Funny enough, I've actually stood outside the nightclub that this level is apparently based on. A quick edit here from future Vaughn when going over this and remembering that lawsuits can be a thing, no matter how big a YouTuber you are. And by the way, Andy does point this out later. So, want to correct a couple of things. First, the level itself was not based on the nightclub Prism. The club in the level was called Prism originally. It was then changed after the brand of nightclubs, Prism, sued. That's the story. So let me make it very clear. The club I'm talking about in Watford was not the basis for the level. Just the name Prism was in the level itself. My bad. I will start on this level. So, in terms of style over substance, this one is the exact opposite of Valley of the Dolls, in my opinion. I think Valley of the Dolls does a lot of its storytelling well, with the way it's laid out and the way it runs. Neon Tomb is pure shock factor. Just the piles of bodies lying around, the blood, the devastation. I know if this actually happened, it is likely that we would have a scene like this. But at the same time, it goes a little too far. I think it's tricky because also the enemies in this, fuck, they're difficult. S-Vests in this level especially, because I don't know if Void have ever explained what triggers an S-Vest or what has to happen, because you get some of them who will surrender immediately, you get them putting them on civilians. I also think the fact you have to try and take the terrorist leader alive, that's very tricky considering that they're all trigger happy. The Sora level, very John Wick inspired. Doesn't need to be there though. I think if you just had the nightclub itself and like the back areas with like a kitchen or a storage area, it would have been fine as is. I think there's a lot of this level that doesn't need to be there. And I think the difficulty from the AI even now still means I'm not always happy to do it. I think there was one time we tried playing this on S rank and we restarted 5 times before we even reached the main part. You could argue that's on us. I'd say it's on the game. So I'm not going to give it a D because I don't think it's terrible, but I am going to give it a C. Next, I think we'll go with Moose.
So I'm going to give this an S. I really like this level. I think, as you say, going from all the levels that are dark and dingy and you've got to use night vision, all of a sudden you walk into this literally bright-ass nightclub with all these neon colours. I think the vibe on it is absolutely spot on from what you would expect from a nightclub. Especially one of those nightclubs that's slightly Russian Mafia-esque. And you know that it's the Russian Mafia, but also they do a really good cocktail deal, 2 for 1, so you still kind of go there, you just ignore the back sections. Very John Wick, I presume that's deliberate.
Yeah.
But again, that section of the John Wick film is really good. I quite like that. I think the size is good. You've got a little bit of verticality. It's hard. I'm not going to deny it is very, very difficult. But it is doable. We've done it on S rank, I think. We've also done it on Lethal. And it's one of those maps that I'll happily kind of replay. The suicide vests add quite a level of we've got to be careful, especially when they put them on civilians. Like you said, the aesthetics, the mobile phones going off everywhere, the thumping music, which is really, really... It's good, but it's really annoying if you're trying to go through. So our first thing is also going to turn the music off to fight enough to get there. But I just think the vibe of it and the aesthetics are really, really good. And going through the back sections, when you go into the the hot tub set, the pool sections, and everything dims down a bit and the music sort of goes a bit more muted, I think that's really good. So overall, it's hard level, but I think it's really, really good. I think it's fantastic. And again, it's quite an uncommon place to put an FPS game. Well, it's a bit like school. Like how many video games use a nightclub as their setting? I don't think Call of Duty's ever done it. I don't think Battlefield has. I can't think of many other games that I've ever been in a nightclub vibe in there. So, again, points for going somewhere a bit different. So, S. I like this level.
Just announced Battlefield 6 has a disco update. There you go. No, I'm joking.
What?
I was joking.
You can edit that joke out.
No, I'll keep it in because I'm honest like that. Smee, do you want to go next?
No, I'm doing some research.
You're finding out about the controversy, aren't you?
No, I found out about that. It's okay. Keep going.
All right.
Go.
Snake, you next then.
Interestingly, I actually thought there was a Prism nightclub in Ayr Town Centre in Scotland as well, but I may be wrong. My thoughts. I haven't played it since they brought out the difficulty slider, and I think that'll be really interesting to try.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that was a bit frustrating about this level is there was no way to play it casually. We usually tend towards like not milsim, but like trying to be police officers. So we always shout for compliance, try and use less lethal if we can, go lethal if you have to. But often we're just tired and we just want to we either go like patrol officer, so like Glocks and stab vests, or just go as lethal as we possibly can and have a blast. This level was hard enough that lethal as you can didn't make it any easier. God, it was so hard. And that was slightly frustrating. I think as we played it more and more and more, it became less frustrating, but I'm aware that many people don't have as much time to play this game as we did. It came out for us in a time where we had no other first-person shooter we enjoyed playing. So we got quite a lot of hours on it. However, since all the updates stand fast the difficulty sliders, I actually think this did, I agree with Moose, solidified into a level I really enjoyed. I think the aesthetic's fun, and the music drives me absolutely mad, but I like that it does that because it makes me really work. I like it. I think this level shows how good the sound design on this game is as well, because even just opening and closing doors, especially most of us have got surround sound headphones. Cheers, Logitech.
This
one's got not sponsored.
No.
This one's got like 6 speakers in it, and genuinely, it's the level that makes me feel like I am using real surround sound and use your audio a lot. And I think the sound design is good in this game, and it's excellent on this level. I wouldn't call it an S tier, but I do really enjoy it. And if I want to play a level that I know is going to really challenge me, this is one of the ones I would pick. Probably the one I'd pick actually. So I'm going to call it A tier. Yeah.
The one you'd picked. I'll put that on the box for the game. Are you good to go now, Smee? Yeah?
Yes, I am.
Yes.
I'm not going to harp on too much. Great storytelling, visual storytelling, great level design, the fun use of colours. It's not just all like brown and beige. You've got really vibrant pinks and blues and whatever else. The S-Fests were really cool. They add like an extra element of strategy and complications. 2 things about the club. One, the only reason it was taken down was because it was called Prism. Yeah. I don't think it was based on Prism, because when you look at the pictures, that it's just sort of a generic nightclub.
Yeah.
But it was taken down due to copyright reasons, because it had the same name and they didn't want their nightclub in Watford being associated with horrific death and violence in this popular video game.
But it's Watford.
But one of the 2 other things. One, it closed down in 2023, so who cares anymore? But my favorite thing that I found is a review of Prism, which I'm not going to read the full thing, but I can just read you the headline, which says, I literally would rather be in a prison than visit Prism nightclub again.
I got that vibe.
And the first words are, it's crap.
That's a Google review.
I, however, disagree with this reviewer.
Okay.
I think that it's S tier. I'm joining Moose on the S bench because I think it's really cool.
Fair enough. We come to now Buy Cheap, Buy Twice, or as we know it as the car dealership. Another level that's gone through quite a serious redesign from the beta. In fact, there's an entire section that I'm pretty sure is missing now, and they've added some more bits to the back end of it as well. So this time I'm going to start with Moose.
D, I think. So we'll start with the redeeming qualities.
Yeah.
You can almost go full circle on the exterior of the map, and you've got multiple entry points. That's good. There are several levels in this game where you don't have any choices. You get 1, maybe 2 options, and that's it. But I just find it really annoying. It's so dark and dingy. Now, I get it's at night. We use night vision stuff all the time, but it just doesn't still quite work too much. The inside of it is very large. I find it's very confusing. You end up walking through a lot of intersections you've already been in, and then sort of vice versa. The outdoor bits, yes, it's a used car lot. It's done well as making it look like a used car lot, but you can get seen from like other end of the parking lot, and of course the AI is like, cool, they're over there, and they've opened up with a light machine gun before you've even seen anything. So I find it quite a frustrating level to play for a variety of reasons. So I'll play it if I have to, but it's not one that I'm chomping at the bit at to play again.
Absolutely fair. Snake?
Yeah, slightly disagree with Moose. I guess a few things to say. One, I actually think this was better before they changed the map design. The old version of the dealership, actually, I thought was better than the new one. It was a bit simpler. Like, it felt more real. This one feels like they've made a car dealership and then bolted a load of stuff on it to try and make the map bigger, which, by the by. But I actually quite like it. I think it's quite interesting. I like that 360. You can go all the way around. And if you play it tactically, you can like section off bits of the dealership. It is one that absolutely rewards going slowly because, as Moose said, you will get sniped from 100 miles away. But I think it's pretty solid. The enemies are not that hard. There's one room that is almost always the room we get killed in, and it's like a open plan office with a glass front and a stairwell, and we breach into that corridor and die almost every time we die. It's that room because you can't watch every angle. But I think it's pretty good. I don't think it's overly complicated. I would agree with one thing that Moose said. It's not dark enough to use night vision, and it's not light enough to not use night vision.
Yeah.
And the torches on this game, like all torches on all FPSs, are rubbish and nothing like real military torches, which are incredibly bright and have a big cone. These are insanely bright and have a tiny cone, making them utterly useless. Torches are not alien devices, to be clear. Anyway, it's by the by. I actually think if they made the torches better, they would make this map better. And I would almost blame the torches for this map being rubbish because it's not dark enough for night vision. It's not bright enough for anything else. But I would call it a C+.
Fair enough. I'll take next. I actually disagree. I actually think overall the design's a lot better from what it started. I think the way you start on the street rather than in a back lot area is a lot better. I think the fact they took out that chop shop bit that then changed into a place where they were holding a bunch of people, and now is just a garage where you come across a weapons deal or something, is a lot better. I think the fact that the interior itself of the main showroom hasn't changed is a testament to how good it was to start with. You know, with the 4x4 that's on a display and turning around, and the big fish tank that everybody shoots because water goes down.
It does.
To be honest, the main problem I have with this is that the enemies themselves aren't as hard as some of them, but they are tooled up to the nines, and I have no idea why. This is supposed to be a front for organised crime. They should not be walking around with assault rifles. It makes no sense. I think the enemies would have been better off being armed like the bad guys from the post office level. You know, stuff that they can conceal and they can like hit around corners and just blast at you from distance. Overall, though, I'd say it's probably one that's benefited a lot from the redesign. It's not the one that's benefited the most, which I'll get on to next one. But yeah, I'd call it a low B, but a B from me at least. And Smeet, you want to finish off?
When we do these, I write notes after each time that we've played through the mission, just so that I get a grasp of, I don't forget, and I get a grasp of what my feelings were at the time, and then I can regurgitate it later. I wrote one word for this. The word was meh.
Fair. That's not what it could have been worse.
It's an office and a garage. It is uninspired location when you compare everything else that's on this list. It's really fucking dull. It's not that interesting story-wise. I just don't care for it, and it's too big, and it's too bloody... bleh. Nah. Whatever the lowest rank we've got, stick it in there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, no, once Ollie got a secret option F for the cabin in the woods, but that's only happening once, because I can't be bothered editing anymore.
No, that's fair. Normal option D. Yeah,
Cool.
Put it in there.
The next mission is Carriers of the Vine. Used to be called Cherryblossom Farm, and used to be, in my opinion, one of the worst levels in the game. Since the 1.0 update, it's changed pretty much night and day, and instead of going up against crazy militia holed up in a winery, you're going up against cultists in Roman masks. Very weird, but very cool. We'll start with Smee on this one.
I really like this map. I would give it an S straight away. It's got a very True Detective vibe to it. I love the cult thing. I love the hardcore feminist the angle that it's got to it, like the whole like its story, the beats and that sort of thing. I love that. Like if you just went through it in any other kind of game, it looks like a normal cottage. Apart from the church, don't talk about the church. It looks like a normal little cottage that you might get on Airbnb, but then there's guns and shields and mines and everything. Like it's really fucking cool. It's spooky, it's dark, it's eerie. An S tier straight away.
Nice. Snake, you want to go take next?
Agree. This was probably the worst map prior to it being changed. It was almost unplayably bad. In fact, I'll go as far as say it was unplayably bad. I now think it's one of my favourites. It's really complicated. It's such a maze inside. It's genuinely scary walking around, knowing that cultists, like crazy women cultists, it's very True Detective, if you've seen that. Very True Detective. I think the map is well designed. It's really interesting. It really makes you think. There are lots of different ways to do it. The visual stuff inside is wicked. It's probably the only map I've actually just walked through to look at stuff, just because it's so interesting inside. And I really like playing it, and it makes me nervous and anxious every time, which I think is like, I'm not the shield operator and I'm genuinely nervous to go through doors. And I don't think I get that on any other map, and that is a testament to excellent design. So solid S tier for me.
Nice. Moose, do you want to go next?
Low A for me. I won't go through all the same. I agree with a lot of the reasons that Snake and Smee have said in terms of the vibe, so I'll leave that there. However, you have one starting location and that's it. And when you walk around the map, there's no reason why you've only got one starting location. There's no reason why they couldn't have inserted you at the rear of the church or on the other side of the compound, or even if they couldn't have accessed one of the old vents or something, old tunnels, and you could have got the option to blast your way into the basement to start with. There's no reason. They lock you to one, and I think that ends up being incredibly restrictive. The enemies are very, very different. They're unlike anything you've ever faced before, and I think that's quite good. They're all totally unarmoured, which actually for the first time, well, one of the first times in the games, means you can actually viably change ammo types to, hollow point?
Yeah,
jacket hollow point. Again, how much damage it really does, I'm not kind of 100%, but it is a viable strategy, and it also means that other guns, so things like your SMGs, like your 9mm, are actually become useful, whereas you'd never ever take them going against some of the Secret Service level guys, because it's just pointless.
Yeah.
It's nice and light. This, that, and the other. So I think there are some good points with it, but I do think there are ways that they could make the map that much better. But the same could be said for a lot of the maps in Ready or Not, and it seems to be more of a recurrent theme. So yes, don't dislike playing it, but for some reason I just don't like it quite as much as like the nightclub level, but I don't dislike it at all.
Okay. I'll finish off. I'm with Smee and Snake on this. It's an S. I think it's one of the few levels where the environment itself is as big an enemy and a threat as the AI. The AI are fine for what they are. They're like, they'll hit you once and then they'll run for it. Makes complete sense. But the level itself, it's like this big square running around with a bunch of rooms that offshoot. There's the cellar level where it gets a lot darker and a lot tighter. The tower level, which comes out of pretty much nowhere. And that church is so good and creepy. I like the fact as well that when you're spending so much time looking at the statue at the back of it, you can get shot from below if you're not paying attention. That's a really cool feature. And like Snake said, it is one of those maps where it is just so nice to walk through after the bullets have fallen and everything else. I think there's between the area in between the main compound and the church, when you see those statues made of plants in the shape of people. I know I've put 2 bullets into those before out of pure shock and terror. The lore behind it as well. It's another one of those levels where the people you're up against, not really the bad guys when you actually read about what they're doing. But yeah, I think compared to what it was in the beta, it is so much better than it was. Like the original, you couldn't get past that spiral staircase half the time. Remember where it was just so tight, you had to go single file, and if somebody got the first one, everyone was getting killed immediately. So at least this one, it feels fair, which sometimes Ready or Not doesn't get right. But this one, it completely nails it. Now, the penultimate level of the campaign is called Relapse, or as we know it, the Hospital. Another one that's not really been redesigned, but it's kind of taken all the elements in the beta where it was split up into several sections and put them all together. Some would say it hasn't worked that well. Let's see what we think. Moose, we'll start with you on this one.
So I'm torn on this level. So, on the one hand, I think the layout is really good. I think you've got enough space in the corridors and the rooms to move around, partly because of the hospital. Hospitals have wide corridors. There's obviously, hospital beds, lots of people. So you can legitimately double stack on a corridor. You can go down. The lighting's good. You can see the layout actually benefits from being a hospital because they have coloured lines on the floor saying, X-ray this way. There are signs everywhere saying of what direction to go. All the doors are labelled with what's in them. So you can call out wise, it's quite easy to do because you can say, I'm following the red line, and you'll always find your way back to things. And you've got the different sections of the hospital. You've got the mortuary, you've got the MRI section, you've got the cafeteria, you've got the wards and so on and so forth. I think all that's really good, and especially you start outside. It's got a proper hospital vibe. It all looks right. The sounds of the alarms and all the rest of it. The downside, if you stopped at the Sky Bridge and maybe added one more level on top of the existing one to make it, say, 4 stories, so you had morgue, ground floor, cafeteria, and then one of the other ones, I think it would be an S tier. I think it would be brilliant. The issue is, it's too big. It's essentially 2 whole maps, or 2 skyscrapers, one word, that are linked, and you have to do both of them. And it's too much for a 4-man team. Now, fair enough, you can play with 6 people, but we don't. It's too much for a 4-man team. It's too much of a strain on your resources. And the enemies aren't limited by flashbangs or whatever. We are. I think they need to have picked one side, and like I say, maybe take the cafeteria from whatever side of the East Wing or whatever, and put that there. I think it'd be a fantastic map. I think it'd be S tier. It's just too big. It's too big, and after a while it starts to get a little bit confusing because it's so large, and the enemies can run between them, and that's what drags it down for me. So because of the size, it makes it really difficult to play, and I think it's probably one of our least played maps, because statistically, all 4 of us, I think we've only got to the end with all 4 of us 2 or 3 times maybe. It's so large that it really sucks the fun out of it because it's very difficult to play properly and to win on the map, which makes it difficult to learn the map, which makes it difficult to enjoy the map. So I'm going to go C. I think it's a high C. I think it's got so much potential. I just think it's too large. I think if you only had one side of it, it'd be fine.
Okay, I'll go next. I mean, Moose has hit the nail on the head, really. A level like that is far too long. I will give them this on an authenticity factor. I too have gotten lost in hospitals a lot, so at least it nails that bit. I think the enemy AI, when they first introduced this version of Hospital, was a menace. Getting shot through windows, through doors sometimes, trying to walk across the sky bridge, and the fact that the lighting was that harsh that you just saw a wall of white light and then you died. The enemy AI is a lot better.
Realistic. Walk towards the light.
Yes, true. enemy AI isn't as much a problem anymore. There's just so many places they can hide, though. The MRI bit has at least 8 separate rooms, and that's just one small section of it. And I think at last count, there's about, I want to say 15 enemies. Doesn't sound like a lot, given how much we've spoken about how big the level is. But they spread them out very well. And you're also running into civvies, and a lot of the bad guys are dressed as doctors as well, which is a cool feat. It's a cool bit of lore, but makes it tricky. I think Ollie's got it right, where if it had been one side of it with the sky bridge and that floor, fine. As is, it's way too long, and if I have to mod the game to give myself more equipment slots to finish it, it's not a great design. But I will stick with C because you're right. There's so much about it that's good. It's just severely let down by everything else around it. Smee, do you want to go next?
I will just be parroting everything you said. Way too big. Love the setting. The hospitals are complicated. It leans into that, and it works very well for it. Far too big. Yeah, I'd give it a B, just purely on the setting.
Fair enough. And Snake, do you want to finish off on this one?
Yeah, never has a map screamed save area more than this one. It's probably somewhere between 2 and 3 times the size that it should be. And actually, I think this would obviously require some serious recoding because I am confident this doesn't exist in the game. But it should be like you clear the first bit, and depending on like how you did it, what you did, who ran away, like blah blah blah, will then change. And then you should like walk through the doors to the stairs. The screen goes black, comes back. You're re-equipped or retooled or whatever, or you get like a 30-second briefing being like, good work team, ground floor's clear, but we heard that some of them escaped upstairs, and into the second part of the level, which is not that hard to do. You know, computer games have been doing that for a very long time. As it currently stands, it's not, I literally would never choose to play this. There's a single reason I'd choose to play this map, because everything that's good about this game is done better on a different map. And if you think about almost everything that's bad about the game, I think this map accentuates all of those bad features. Solid, whatever our lowest is, D tier for me. I literally would never choose to play this map unless I had to.
I remember when I tried to set this whole video idea, and I go, hey guys, we're going to play through all the levels. Like, oh, cool. And then we got to this level, and you all went, we forgot about that. The final base map is Hide and Seek, also known as Port Hoken?
Port Hoken.
Hoken, that is how you pronounce it. Another level that has gone through a drastic redesign from the early days of this game. We'll start with this one with Snake.
Yeah, this map was terrible until it was redesigned, and now I really like it. It's really atmospheric. It's the only one where you're predominantly outside almost all the time that I remember, at least. The rain's really good. It again, lovely sound design. You can hear the rain and it changes. So if you're near metallic stuff like the containers, you get the drumming, and when you like move under shelter, you get kind of the dripping noise. That's really good. You see the rain on your weapon and on your gloves and stuff like that. It's really very pleasant. Atmospherically, it's really nice. The enemies are relatively fair. I would say, conversely, this does actually highlight that the AI on this game is not very good, much as I like the game, because you can have like a full gunfight and like 30 yards over there, because that enemy wasn't just engaged in the gunfight, they're still just like wandering around, like very, very like old school Metal Gear Solid. Like, what was that noise? And everyone inside is like smoking fat stogies and not paying attention. But overall, like, quite good, and like, I like the transition. Like, there's very much 2 parts to this map, and you transition, you play the 2 parts differently. The only thing I'd say about this map is, it's a map that doesn't take advantage of how good the map is. Like, there's lots of little like outbuildings. There's the tower.
Yeah.
But I basically know exactly where the enemies are going to be every single time I play. They're They stop, but I don't know this, but I think they all start patrolling in the exact same place, and they have like 3 options for where they go, and they're just going to they'll just sort of go back and forth. So I can pretty much guarantee it'll be like, right, there'll be 2 enemies there, and if they aren't there, they'll be just around that corner. Oh, there they are. Randomizing patrol routes and like putting people in the sniper tower, which I know is not a sniper tower, but it's a tower that you can put a sniper in, or like some of the outside buildings a bit more often and stuff like that, I think would be quite good.
Watching the crane.
Yeah, exactly.
You would do if you had control of that port. You would have someone in the crane tower.
Yeah. But I think it's pretty solid map, and I really quite enjoy playing it, and it's quite difficult, which I quite like. I'd say a solid A.
Moose, do you want to go next?
So I'm going to say it just scrapes into S tier. I love the aesthetic of this map. The original one was horrid. The original one was so hard, and again, way too long. And I think we got to the very end of it maybe twice, if that. The redesign, I absolutely love this redesign. The weather effects outside, I think, are some of the best in any game I've ever played. Like, I feel wet when I'm standing outside. And as Snake's already said, with the audio and the rain and everything, like, I think it's fantastic. The transition from outdoor indoor, again, really good. And the whole aesthetic and stuff when you get inside, and I think they've really, they've done that whole like taken person like auction type thing. I think they've done that quite well.
Yeah.
So overall, really like the map. Once again, though, and I've said this on previous ones, the replayability is severely let down by the fact that you have one starting location. We're in a shipping yard, okay? We're in a big container port. There is no reason, so we start from like, say, this point down here. There's no reason we shouldn't be able to start from that point over there, or on the other side of the warehouse, or we've come in by boat and we've come up onto the dock, either midway along here or by the other side of the warehouse. There's no reason why we couldn't do any of those, and it wouldn't change the overall playability of the map. It's just, again, we're so severely restricted by you have to start in one position, and it means that, as Snake's already said, every time you play the map, you're like, well, that guy's going to be there, that guy's going to be there. If I go around this container, I've already got a shot on him. If you could change the starting position, you'd have so much more replayability. But I love the vibe. I think the sizing's right. I think the aesthetics are really good. So just scrapes into an S tier for me. But they could do so much more with a lot of these maps to increase the replayability.
Okay. Smee, do you want to take the next?
I will give this a B, but purely on story beats alone. I love the story in this map about finding the human trafficking ring, and you find all these women naked or in the new patch covered up. They're all locked in a container with the massive spider logo. You've got the spider logo on different carts, containers, and you've got that snotty agent that tells you to close the door. You go further into the level and you find the auction house with all these like people on laptops watching. They're bidding on something. That story element, and that makes this level amazing. But I don't want to play it again. Because once you go through it and you find all that out, it's really shocking, it's really interesting, it adds a wealth of lore to the story and to the overarching world. But I don't want to play it again because I don't think it's a particularly interesting level without those story bits. It would be like the secret F tier, because it's just kind of it's wet and there's a warehouse and there's people over there. It's not interesting until you add in those story bits. The story bits really carry this, but I don't want to play it again. If we ever play this kind of level, I'm like, okay, fine, if we have to. But there are other levels I'd rather play, so I will give it a B, but it's purely on the story.
Okay, and I'll finish up on this one. This level, when it was first released in the beta, I remember when we did our roundtable discussion way back when this was still in beta, and I remember saying this level was the worst level in the game, bar none. The changes they've made, I never had a problem with the theme and the story of the level. I think that was good. It's just that when you walked through the original bit, you were in one fucking block office and it turned into a labyrinth where the interior made no sense. This, it can still get confusing, but it makes sense that it's confusing. You're going through shipping containers. You're then going through a huge warehouse that's full of cars that have been smuggled in and other contraband. And then when you get to the auction bit, holy crap, they dial up the human auction side to it to 11, and it's great. I think the enemy AI also makes sense. You can have people milling around with higher power weaponry than you can, say, a car dealership. There it is. I think there are sections that you don't need. You don't need that the gas station bit. That's like the far end of the starting area. Yeah, you don't need that bit. And Ollie hit the nail on the head when he said there are so many things you could do. You could do a helicopter insert onto the roof of the warehouse or the tower. Fun enough, there are modded maps where they do helicopter inserts that the main game doesn't do. And I know why Void have done this with some of their levels. It's because they're really interested in making a story. And to make that story, you have to start them somewhere. They did it with Valley of the Dolls, which is fine. It made sense that you were starting from the driveway. This one, it's a bit harder to justify that one starting point.
That's fine on the first playthrough of the map. Once you've done the map, you can then unlock other starting positions.
No. I grant you. I think if Carriers of the Vine was the best redesign, this is the second best. Because there are still quite a few problems with it. But at the same time, it is miles better than what it was. Like, I remember despising the original level, despite the fact it was in so much of the promotional material for the game. You couldn't watch anything about Ready or Not when it was in beta without people saying, the port level's so cool, you can see the raindrops on his arm and everything like that. So? The rest of it's shit.
I said that you.
So it's not S level, it's not Carriers of the Vine or Valley of the Dolls. It is an A. It's a solid A for me on that one, because I think it's improved so much more than what it was, and while I still have complaints, I can see why Void have made some of those decisions.